Good evening, everyone. Whenever I get up to speak without an introduction, I'm reminded of the person who was introduced as a speaker who needs no introduction. And so when you're about to do that, he needs a conclusion. I have a conclusion, don't worry. I'm actually here with two hats. One is Rabbi Katz, co-director of the CTN, and one is Moshe Katz, who enjoys a very special, precious friendship with many members of this family. I recently saw a story of a patriarch of a family getting all of his descendants together, giving them charge for the future. And he said to them, I've never touched alcohol, don't eat red meat, and I'm in bed every night by 10 p.m. But you know, this Sunday I'm celebrating my 90th birthday. We hear a voice from the back, Grandpa, you're celebrating? How? Tonight we're celebrating this wonderful couple's legacy and life, Lois and Luka Lefkovich. And one of the beautiful things about this celebration is that in this room right now there are approximately 50 descendants of this couple, and not one of them would say to their Rabbi and Zaidi, celebrate now. Each one would say to them, we celebrate exactly where you celebrate. We celebrate our love for Torah. As one of the granddaughters said on the video, you taught us that Judaism is the most beautiful thing in the world. We celebrate at the Shabbos table just like you did. We celebrate our relationship with God and our love for God. And we also know that you can't have a relationship with God, and you don't really love God if you don't love His children. If you don't see the Tzelem Elokim, the divine image in every human being. Thursday nights, I often go to Jewel to do my Shabbos shopping. Sometimes I come back a little late. I say to my wife, boy, the lines were brutal in Jewel. And she says to me, you were schmoozing? So I said, I never said hello to somebody. But not infrequently, I have actually a very good explanation. I tell her the Chevra was there. Who's the Chevra? The Chevra, two granddaughters of the Lefkovich family. One from the Chicago branch, one from the New York branch. And I see them occasionally, they come over, like, Katz, your Torah made us so inspiring, and it made us cry, and it moved us, and made us want to be better. And you just know that they come from a legacy where Judaism is the most beautiful thing, and they want to grow. This way I get to schmooze and have an excuse at the same time. We appreciate each and every one of you being here tonight. It's just a beautiful gathering of great people. And we're also particularly proud of the diversity in this room. People from every part of the Jewish community coming together to celebrate our heritage and to mark this very historic moment for the CTN. I never had the privilege of meeting Wilfred Lefkovich, but from what I've heard, he would be a unique person to inspire every person in this room. Not everyone can inspire a very diverse group. Even the Torah scholars in this room can be inspired by a person who had very little formal Jewish education, and as an adult, fell in love with Torah, and actually became a Torah scholar. I was told that Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik testified that he went through Shas, the entire Talmud, 2 times. And perhaps as important is that the Shas, the Talmud, went through him as well. And who cannot be inspired by a person like that? Then you have the so-called novices who are sort of tentatively exploring the heritage. And sometimes they're overwhelmed with the sense that there's so much to learn, I know so little, and can I ever do it, and what's the point, I'm too old, and can I ever integrate this into my life? Until now, I would tell people, don't be discouraged, you should be inspired by Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was illiterate until he was 40 years old, and then he embraced learning and became the famous Rabbi Akiva, one of the greatest rabbis of the Talmud. First thing, sometimes this backfires. One guy said to me, Rabbi, I'm 37, I'll see you in 3 years. and besides, not everyone could relate to a rabbi. 2,000 years ago, a rabbi, a great rabbi, they don't relate to it. But starting from tonight, we can tell people that the Lois and Wilfred Lefkovich CTN should inspire you. Because you can be inspired by a regular Yankee Doodle couple, just like yourselves, right, who embraced Torah, and by Wilfrid Lefkovich, who became a Torah scholar. And if you can do it, you can do it. I did have the pleasure of knowing Lois Lefkovich. I count myself, I'm sure there are hundreds of people who feel comfortable referring to her as Rabbi Lois. I remember the first time I met her, we made some small talk, and then she said, I gotta tell you my story. And she tells me this story, how they had this terrible, heart-wrenching challenge, and for a few minutes her eyes were teary, and then all of a sudden she switched. Okay, now I'll tell you the journey. She tells me how she and her husband embarked on this journey of searching, questioning, trying to understand this world better. And she explains to me how it was step by step, gradual, step forward, step back, which is exactly the philosophy of CTN. We always tell people every small step is significant and steps add up, perfectly in sync with the CTN philosophy. And then she tells me, and the culmination of it all, the girls. And of course she beamed with pride. I also remember the second time she told me this story. I also remember the third time she told me the story. And I remember that the third time she told me the story, she had this look on her face. I was looking at her, and she had this look as if she was saying, you know and I know, I told you this already. But I don't care because I like telling it. And I don't know if I ever saw a human being with a greater sense of pride and simcha and joy and nachas than Rabbi Lois telling the story of her girls. You know, there's a well-known adage that says, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. The Lefkoviches did not just make lemonade. They were given a challenge, and they turned it into eternity. In fact, I would call it a big bang of eternity. A huge explosion of eternity. Like, we know that they raised 6 wonderful daughters, and we said something like 90 descendants, all of them embraced with love the source that makes us an eternal people. That is the Torah. Somebody once said the ancient Egyptians built the pyramids with the hope that it would give them immortality. They'd be remembered forever. And today, their civilization is in the museum. Pyramids is a nice thing to see if you're in the neighborhood, but their civilization is gone. At the same time, the Jewish people were given 2 humble, modest stone tablets. And what was written on those tablets gave us the ability to be an eternal people. So to leave over a dynasty like this is literally an explosion of eternity. And it should inspire every one of us in this room to know that when we make decisions in life, it could have eternal ramifications. We are humbled and inspired and excited to have the CTN linked with their legacy. And we only hope and pray that tonight should be an eternity moment. Eternity moment for the special neshamas, the special souls. It should be elevated. Eternity moment for everyone here in the room tonight to take inspiration, to try to be, as was said in the video, growing Jews. And an eternal moment for the CTN as we become the Lois and Wilfrid Lefkovich CTN. And as we take the legacy of this wonderful couple, which to sum it up would be, Judaism is the most beautiful thing in the world. Thank you very much for being here tonight.